Welcome, friends, to the Jammin' Dude Show. I am, of course, Ben Jammin' Dude Straley, otherwise known as the J Dude. Welcome. And, of course, my co-host, the Black Russian. This is a very, very special episode because this is the very first Jammin' Dude episode dealing with a brand new Dream Theater album. Yes, the album officially started streaming earlier this week at rollingstone.com. I have not received my hard copy yet, but I have been giving it my usual 5-spin test, and I am here to give you, the listeners, my feedback as a longtime Dream Theater fan. Speaking of which, I should go very briefly into my history of Dream Theater fandom, and I will be quick. I first heard Dream Theater when I was working at Tower Records in Bellevue. In October of 1992, Images and Words had just been released that summer, but it had not hit yet. Pull Me Under had not hit the airwaves. It was still just kind of this album that was just sitting out there. Me and another guy, we started playing it in store. Everyone else in the entire store hated us because we were playing it multiple times a day, every single day. We were addicted to Images and Words, and pretty soon we started bugging radio stations because we were selling it off the shelf, and we were pushing KISW to play Pull Me Under, and they wouldn't play it at first. But then Pull Me Under got onto MTV, radio started playing Pull Me Under, and we all know the rest. It's been a real roller coaster ride as a Dream Theater fan. There were high points, there were low points, there were meh points, and just on some of the more recent albums I'll focus on, I have some very unusual tastes. Octavarium tends to be a very polarizing album, and for me, even though I have been there for the whole ride, and Images and Words and Scenes from a Memory, those are the biggies for me. And I think Octavarium, though, is my #1 all-time favorite Dream Theater album, and it has to do with the scope, theme of the entire album. I'm just a sucker for the nuggets along the whole way, and the idea of every song being in another key, and the whole thing coming, and the 4-song album cycle wrapping back in on itself. You might think it's cheesy. Your mileage might vary. More power to you. I love it. I think it's the greatest Dream Theater album ever made. After that, things fell off the table a little bit. I was not a fan at all of Systematic Chaos. I thought it was a mess. Black Clouds and Silver Linings was a bit of a pickup, but Dream Theater was starting to sound a little stale. Wasn't sure if they were going to... There were some high points again. A change was needed. A change was made. The band moved on with new drummer Mike Mangini. A dramatic turn of events was certainly elevating from where the last 2 albums had been. And everybody was suddenly very, very hopeful that maybe Dream Theater had turned a corner and was getting back to their glory days, but a lot still needed proven. The new drummer, Mike Mangini, had not been in for the writing sessions, and people weren't exactly sure how that writing team, that new writing dynamic, was going to gel. There were some criticisms, even though a dramatic turn of events was very strong. There was some criticisms that there were a lot of thematic elements that were really borrowed from Images and Words, and people thought that maybe they were rehashing old ideas. So the pressure was on for this one, and they just elevated the pressure on themselves by making it a self-titled album, a mission statement. Well, after 5 spins, after 5 intense headphone-wearing spins, and immersing myself into the album, I have to say that I believe that the band delivered. Okay. The dude will not lose his cool. If a dramatic turn of events was images and words, this is not Awake. It's like if falling into infinity and 6 degrees of inner turbulence had a baby. The album opens with the False Awakening Suite, which is described by John Petrucci as being the band writing their own intro music. For so many tours they had been using other people's intro music, they figured, let's write our own. It's a good intro, has a very 6 Degrees feel to it. Leads immediately into the first single, The Enemy Inside. When I first heard The Enemy Inside, I was okay with it. I was willing to admit that it was a stronger single, but as most of you know by now, I'm not a big fan of singles. So I was still waiting to be really sucked in by this album, but it happened almost immediately. The Looking Glass was just an amazing track. The chorus is so catchy. Got stuck in my head right away. The melodies are back. I was the first one to admit that even though A Dramatic Turn of Events was definitely better than the previous 2 albums, I was beginning to become convinced by a lot of critics that maybe Dream Theater wasn't trimming the fat enough. They were taking a lot of 5 and 6 minute ideas and dragging them out into 10 and 12 minute ideas. And the songs were they were really good, they were really strong, but they were not holding my interest anymore. The new album absolutely does exactly what most of the fans were complaining about. It trims the fat, it brings back the harmony and the melody, and it just gets down to writing a decent song. And such strong songs and good hooks, and The Looking Glass is a perfect example of that. Next after that is the new instrumental, the Enigma Machine. I was really high on this as well. I thought it came a little early in the album. It's really odd because this is only technically the 3rd actual song on the album. So it happens a little bit early, but in the scope of the album it tends to fit. It's just not normally something that you hear happening as a 3rd song. But the song itself is excellent. I was jamming the whole way, and I still get parts of it that get stuck in my head. Again, the hooks. I just can't believe how catchy this album is. After the Enigma Machine is The Bigger Picture. Here is probably, right now, my favorite song on the entire album. The Bigger Picture starts off beautifully, builds gorgeously, and then just drops you in the middle of nowhere before rebuilding it for the last 2 minutes. And the last 2 minutes of The Bigger Picture could be one of the most beautiful things that Dream Theater has ever written. The new Dream Theater's out! The new Dream Theater's out! Absolutely sent goosebumps all over my body. And while we're at it, speaking of beautiful portions of this album, the intro to the next track, Behind the Veil, is just absolutely gorgeous. Jordan has written one of these amazing, slow, low, tension-building intros to Behind the Veil that, after a couple of minutes, just kicks into one of these really fantastic John Petrucci riffs. And it's almost got you thinking modern-day Megadeth, because you got the good, chunky riff, and James LaBrie kind of doing that, he's doing that thing, and it's really cool. And then suddenly it just drops you into this gorgeous pre-chorus. The bottom falls out, and it takes you on a completely different plane, and then sends you into a soaring chorus that I still cannot get out of my head. Again, this is one of the more catchy albums Dream Theater has ever written, and Behind the Veil is a big highlight of that. After that is Surrender to Reason. A lot of people are really, they were high on this one because it's John Myung's first lyric writing credit since Scenes from a Memory. And people have been requesting this for ages. And the lyrics are actually really good. The song didn't grab me right away. Still sinking in. Not a bad song. Really good song. Not hooking me in as quickly as some of the others. Then we go into another ballad, of course, the second single, Along for the Ride. I really like this. It does remind me a little bit of Beneath the Surface, the last track from A Dramatic Turn of Events, mostly because the Moog solo has Jordan put almost an identical patch on it. And so it's got a little bit of that Lucky Man, Keith Emerson thing going on. But the music itself in Along for the Ride is a lot busier, and that separates it from the acoustic piece that is Beneath the Surface, which I love, by the way. So, thumbs up on Along for the Ride. Then we get into the epic. Illumination Theory. I'm still soaking this one in. After 5 spins, it's a lot. I can say, certainly, I don't know how fluent it is yet. There are certainly sections of it that blow my mind. It opens up, again, in classic, almost 6-degree overture kind of form, heads into a good rockin' riff for the first section of Live, Die, Kill. And then, just very suddenly almost, and some people have said it's a jarring change. I don't know that I totally agree, because I'm used to things like this coming from Yes. This is Illumination Theory, by the way, is the most Yes epic Dream Theater has ever done. The whole ambient section and string section through the middle, to me, is so reminiscent of Closer to the Edge, Relayer, half of the Tales from Topographic Oceans album, that it can't be ignored. This is a very Yes-sounding epic, and if you are into the way that Yes structures their epic, this is not going to be an issue for you. But the Embracing Circle is the middle section, where there's some ambient sounds for about a minute or two, and then there is this incredible string section for about 2 minutes that if it doesn't get you weepy-eyed, you have no soul. Did I tell you that I cried? It picks back up again into the Pursuit of Truth, Part 4, and right when it kicks back in with the bass and drum, I was immediately reminded of the Part 4 Submerging from Spocksbeard's The Great Nothing. Again, another Part 4. Nuggets! So you have this Yes ambient section followed by a Spocksbeard kick back in and rock us back up and take us up to the end. And Surrender, Trust, and Passion, James LaBrie just absolutely nails it. As a matter of fact, I have to say, if there is a shining standout on the entire Dream Theater album, it has got to be James LaBrie. James LaBrie absolutely soars on this album. And everything that he does on this album is perfectly tasteful, perfectly in his range, and really just leads you in with Pied Piper melodies. I can't get enough of it. If I had to make one minor critic, and I'm nitpicking at this point, is at the very end of Illumination Theory, where he does the never, 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 and it's like, oh, James, you didn't just do that. There is this thing about the new Dream Theater album where I really thought it was going to have a flow, like from start to finish, like the songs blending together. But it was kind of strange that the songs all like begin and end, and they have like spaces between the songs. So considering the thematic brain fart, considering the scope and theme that they were promoting, like this album was going to be an entire piece, it was surprising to kind of see, you know, starts and end to song. You were kind of half expecting the songs to blend into one another. All in all, I'm just so pleased with this new Dream Theater album. This is by far the greatest Dream Theater album since Octavarium from me, and I've seen a lot of people say that it's the best since 6 Degrees. You know, if Octavarium didn't do it for you, I'm going to have to tend to agree. Because as I said before, this takes the anthem and theatrical elements from 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence and then ends it with the song crafting quality that Falling into Infinity had. So, all in all, I really feel this may be one of Dream Theater's strongest efforts. Right now, I am putting it in my top 5, and by the time I really get it rattling around in my head, it may even be top 3. This is an incredible achievement by Dream Theater to be doing this 12 albums into their career. This is an amazing achievement. Rush had already done it with Clockwork Angels. I just wasn't sure Dream Theater had this big of a bang left in them. So, big time props to Dream Theater. The album drops on Tuesday. Go out and pick it up, and I may even shoot a real quick special episode when my copy of the special edition arrives, and maybe I'll do an unpackaging episode that'll be a little bit shorter. But anyway, thanks again for tuning in. Go out and pick up the new Dream Theater album and see them on tour in 2014. I'm going to be heading out to the Between the Buried and Me show on Friday, October 4th, so at some point I'm going to try and see if maybe I can get a brief interview with one of the guys in there, but no promises. You guys take care, keep rocking, and the dude abides. I love you guys. I want you to know I don't script any of this, because everyone out there, you're all my friends, and I really appreciate every single one of you. Most of you are a part of the Dream Theater community, and you've known me ever since the Cyber Moon days. Thank you. I love you all. Take care. I'll see you next time.